Hey Brickhead, Scott with 36 Bricks here, taking a look at the mirror build of the boutique hotel. This thing is awesome. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so let's check this thing out. This thing is awesome as a build itself. Now, I'm not going to do a full review on the build itself. Most of the aspects of the build in general are the same, so there's really not a need for me to re-review this set since I reviewed it previously. But I wanted to showcase some of the amazing aspects that you can do as far as when you mirror a build like this. So, as you can see, I have this build just mirrored with the side panel. So there's no real differences. As you can see, it's literally straightforward, the same exact build on both sides. I didn't modify anything other than what I've modified before, but essentially it's just a vast build, and it is awesome. Now, there are some perks and there are some downfalls. Now, I say downfalls because, of course, one of the downfalls of mirroring this particular build is the fact that it's a corner build. So, this would take up your entire street. Now, does that make sense for the build? If this was a grand hotel, absolutely. Absolutely, that would make sense. However, it does make it difficult if this is not a grand hotel. So, keep those things in mind when it comes to mirroring the builds. Now, as you can see, if I were to turn the build, if I wanted to combine it this way, that would actually be cool, but very difficult, right? This would, of course, have to be a alleyway of some kind, so you could easily do that. Or if you wanted to spread these apart and make one on one side of the street and one on the other, you could easily do that. So those are some of the kind of perks or things to think about. As you can see on this side, I did not mirror the boutique. I do have plans to mock this out, so I've already started, I had no intention of building another art boutique here. I knew I was going to take it apart, so I didn't go ahead and do that. But nevertheless, you can see that. So the other aspect, so this is of course another mirror aspect. Now you can rotate these around, and of course mirror them that way as well. So it looks a little bit, it's kind of one of those funky looking, builds, which actually works in its favor because it's so different. It is epic. So if the fine art, if I had built the secondary fine art, that would be put here, and of course that would be the mirror. Now, of course, as a mirror, if you were to combine these two, you could just cancel out this wall and make that art gallery a lot bigger. In doing so, it wouldn't cause there to be awkwardness with this build. And what I say by awkwardness is, if we take out the second build and we bring in a different modular, then you don't have this awkward corner back here. One of the bad parts about mirroring this build, or this build in general, is of course the fact that back here you have this very awkward open space that you kind of have to get rid of, or disguise. So with that, those are some of the things that you got to think about. Now I'm going to take this out and bring it back together. And a couple of the things that you want to consider also is what is on the back. So if you were to mirror the build like this, okay, does that change the overall look and feel of the build? So this is another way. Obviously, the original way I had the mirror is the same on the front, but I did want to go ahead and take a look at the mirroring on the back. So again, imagine that the boutique is here. Now, if you were to put buildings up against this, that closes this off, this section off in general, and logistically, now you've created a dead space. Now, of course, there are aspects of the builds that build of this that you don't want to, have dead space with, but that is something to consider, because if you went ahead and for this particular set you mirrored it and you built this art boutique out, and then you put builds up against this, whether it be like this or like this, then again, that creates dead space and unused space. And when you're talking about cities, you need all the space that you can get. So the other thing to think about is in order to, on some builds, in order to mirror it, you might have to rearrange things. You might have to find new parts. And the reason I showcase that is because with this particular build, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera closer, I actually had to find new parts in order to create this same space. I tried the existing parts and it didn't work for me. So when it came to the outline of the floor itself, the roof, I actually couldn't just swap things out and move them. I actually had to get new parts. Now, the top of the building looks the exact same, of course, but if I was to pop this up and showcase it this way, you are going to clearly see the differences on either side. I tried to keep it original as much as possible, but it didn't quite work out the way I intended, especially this angling section right here versus this angling section right here. So those are things that you had to keep in mind. Now, maybe I'm just not, an expert and I did it all wrong. Maybe there's people out there that were able to figure it out with the existing parts. That is totally fine. I am not saying my way is best or better than theirs or anything like that. Just showcasing some of the things that you got to think about when you're trying to mirror a build. Now, when it comes to the interior mirrors, you can clearly see from one side to the other, it's the exact same. So not much has needed to change. As far as the flooring goes, it is the exact same on either side. Now, if you are deciding to put these together, then you need to focus and look at the certain aspects, because obviously you don't need two stairwells. So you can actually pull out this wall, maybe make an elevator on one side and the stairwell on the other. There are some other aspects that you might need if you wanted to both make the rooms smaller. Now you have the ability to. That is one of the perks to not just mirroring a project, but combining multiple. You actually give yourself more room and more space. For example, I could easily move this over one stud, have one more stud on this side, move this to possibly a different wall, and then and rearrange it, so maybe putting in a different bed or something like that. Of course, on this particular floor, it may or may not make more sense to do that. It may just make sense to keep it the way it is. But when you start taking off this floor and showcasing the other floor, then again, this opens things up a little bit more. You could shrink this floor down as well as this floor down, making another room. You could make a shared bathroom. As you can see, this floor as a whole does not have a bathroom, so you could easily start moving things over just one stud. And as you move things over one stud, maybe shrinking this down, one stud turns into two studs may turn into four studs, and before you have it, you have a nice little small bathroom. So those are stuff that you can think about. Also, when you start merging buildings, you will have a lot of bricks or pieces left over. The reason for that is because obviously, if you don't need this wall, you take that wall out, maybe you use half those parts again, but you still have the other half left over. Now, moving on to the first floor, this would actually change the dynamic of this first floor completely. So I say that because if you look at it, would you need, if this was all one build and you're merging two, would you need these walls? Of course, you would not. Would you need this big of a staircase? No, you could actually merge those, and that frees up not only just one stud on this side, but also one stud on this side. So you could literally get rid of that entire wall, have those extra parts left over for another build, combine those staircases, and have a grand staircase. Now, I've seen people do that in the different groups. They've actually taken this out and then put the two doors here, because essentially what that means is now this is the center of the building, so it makes sense that it walks up. That's if you're going that way. You could, of course, change the dynamic of the build this way, maybe close off this wall and make this the entrance, and then have that as the grand staircase in the middle. Or just leave the staircases on the sides for that, grand shape. Keep in mind when you do this, then of course you have to manipulate and change the other floors. So that's where a lot of those techniques come into play. Obviously, when you are mirroring, you may not necessarily need two of the same aspects in the build. So you wouldn't need a check-in and check-out counter here. You wouldn't need a check-in and check-out counter here. So you could combine those to make one big one, or just take one out altogether. Alright guys, so there you have it. Some of the perks of mirroring a build. This just showcasing that I am deciding, I have decided to showcase the mirror of the build. So I'm sure you guys are all asking, am I going to mirror the build? So as I've showcased before, I have a lot of plans for this set, and I am super excited. So am I going to combine these to make these two sets to make a bigger hotel? No. I am going to combine these 4 sets to make a bigger hotel. That's right, I have 4 of them. I am going to combine them and make a much, much bigger hotel. So I am super excited. Am I going to raise them on, put multiple floors up and make this thing taller? Am I going to make it wider in the back? What am I going to do with it? Stay tuned in live streams to find out. As always, guys, thanks for joining me here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on 36 Bricks. Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank all of my Patreon supporters. It really means a lot that you've taken the time, energy, effort to support my channel, the videos that I create, and the live streams. It really does mean a lot. If you're not a member, please go to patreon.com/36bricks. That's patreon.com/36brix. Check out my memberships. And if you like what you see, please sign up. If not, click the donate button on... Ooh, this one's cool. Check this one out. I agree, that one's cool, but this one's awesome. Ooh, I like this one. I just can't stop watching. Well, I like them all, and I'm gonna subscribe. Can you do the same? Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on 36 Brix.